The instant Barbara crossed onto my property, her sensible pumps crunching into the gravel driveway like she owned the place, her finger jabbed straight at my ATV. "This monstrosity is now HOA property," she declared, her voice cutting through the crisp morning air with the kind of self-assured authority that made neighbors freeze in their tracks. Everyone braced for my outburst, a heated argument, maybe even a call to the cops. But I just rested my hand on the handlebars, feeling the sun-warmed metal, and offered a small, knowing smile as I pulled out the keys and let them swing from my fingers. No words. No fight. Just that eerie calm that seemed to rattle even the birds overhead. That silence, that subtle grin, was the opening act of a plan months in the making. Barbara strutted closer, her posture screaming triumph, already mentally drafting her report for the HOA board. Little did she know, hidden cameras were rolling, capturing every glorious second of what she saw as her big win. And what I knew was the bait hooking deep into her overinflated ego. As she rattled off made-up rules about unauthorized vehicles causing emotional distress and ruining the neighborhood's aesthetic harmony, I stepped aside and gestured toward the ATV like it was hers for the taking. The shock rippled through the onlookers, wide eyes, hushed whispers. Her smug expression twisted into surprise, then delight, as she realized I wasn't stopping her. And in that heartbeat, the tale of calculated revenge, public humiliation, and strategic brilliance began to unfold beneath the surface of our quiet suburban street in suburban Atlanta, where picket fences hid more drama than any soap opera. Living just beyond the HOA boundaries in our tidy Georgia neighborhood had always been a deliberate choice. I cherished my independence, the freedom to mow my lawn on my schedule, park my ATV without permission slips, and enjoy the simple joys of a backyard barbecue without oversight. Barbara, on the other hand, thrived on control. As the self-appointed queen of the homeowners association, she policed every trimmed hedge and painted mailbox with the zeal of a drill sergeant. From the day I moved in 5 years ago, she'd made it her mission to drag me under her thumb, even though my lot wasn't part of her domain. It started small, notes taped to my mailbox about unsightly garden gnomes, which I didn't have, complaints about my truck's exhaust, and anonymous tips to the city about imaginary code violations. But the ATV became her obsession. Parked proudly near the edge of my driveway, it symbolized everything she despised: rugged mobility, unbridled fun, a reminder that not everyone bowed to her rules. So when she marched over that fateful morning, clipboard in hand and indignation blazing, I saw my chance. Instead of arguing, I let her arrogance take the wheel. I let her believe she'd finally claimed a tangible victory, something to flaunt at the next board meeting. Neighbors gathered like spectators at a car wreck as she bellowed about fines and confiscation for community safety. I leaned against my fence, arms crossed, watching her fantasy play out. The ATV wasn't the prize, it was the lure. Even as she climbed aboard, gripping the handlebars like a conqueror, I stayed silent. Cameras caught every angle, every smug wave to the stunned crowd. When she twisted the throttle and roared off, laughter bubbling from her lips, the street erupted in murmurs. They expected my rage, but I just nodded and headed inside, already plotting the fallout. Weeks earlier, after her endless threats and trespassing inspections, I'd prepped meticulously. The ATV had a built-in GPS tracker, registered documents proving ownership, and I'd filed preliminary statements with the local courthouse. Reviewing the footage that afternoon, I captured her verbal assaults, her bold declaration of seizure, her blatant boundary crossing. While she paraded through the subdivision, bragging about putting the troublemaker in his place, I drove to the courthouse with my evidence packet. Theft report filed, video attached, witnesses noted. The trap was set, and there was no escaping it. By evening, she cruised back, revving the engine outside my gate and yelling about storage fees and fines. I gave her a polite wave and walked away, leaving her baffled. Barbara fed on reactions, denials, arguments. My acceptance was a dagger she couldn't see coming. As night fell, I stood on my porch, staring at the empty spot where the ATV had been, not with anger, but anticipation. The seed of justice was planted, and it was about to sprout in ways her petty empire couldn't contain. The next morning, the neighborhood buzzed with gossip, disbelief mixed with amusement, like we'd all tuned into a live reality show. Folks expected me to charge over, demanding my property back. Instead, I went about my day, watering the azaleas, sipping coffee on the porch, fixing a loose fence post. My calm unnerved them more than any tantrum could. Barbara, meanwhile, played the victor, recounting her conquest to anyone who'd listen, using words like discipline and leadership, as if scripting her own legend. But as the hours ticked by without my groveling at the HOA office, her theatrics amped up, louder stories, more threats, desperate for validation. By afternoon, the ATV was her centerpiece. She drove it past my house deliberately, engine roaring, waving like a parade queen. Neighbors clustered on sidewalks, some chuckling, others filming with their phones, unwittingly gathering more evidence. Inside her head, she envisioned praise from the board, not realizing the applause she'd get would echo in a courtroom. Later, she taped a ridiculous violation notice to my gate, offenses like unauthorized vehicle exposure and psychological trauma to residents. I read it with a smirk, folding it into my growing file. Calmly, I headed back to the courthouse, submitting reports of deliberate theft, GPS data showing her joyride, and boundary violations. The clerks stamped it all with board efficiency, true justice born from paperwork, not shouts. Meanwhile, Barbara hosted a show and tell at her dining table, flashing ATV photos to board members, framing her theft as heroic. When one questioned jurisdiction, she snapped that moral leadership trumped maps. That arrogance? Pure gold for my case. As evening deepened, she rode by again, mocking me from the street. A neighbor muttered about legal trouble. She laughed it off, claiming she was the law here. Irony hung thick in the air. Kids waved, teens cheered, elders whispered she'd gone too far. I observed from afar, knowing her every move tightened the noose. Night brought her wine-fueled celebrations, texts and photos to friends, while I backed up footage of her trespassing, lying, and gloating. Her downfall wouldn't come from fury, but the crushing weight of her own hubris. By the third morning, tension simmered beneath the surface. Birds chirped less, as if sensing the shift. Barbara's stride held an edge, her confidence cracking as she posted another announcement on the community bulletin. ATV seized under her bogus rules, interference deemed rebellion. That afternoon, a fluorescent citation slapped my gate, absurd charges like visual disharmony and harm to HOA leadership. I peeled it off, appreciating how she dug deeper without prompting. But the real blow landed when a certified envelope hit her mailbox. My legal notice detailing trespass, stolen property, unlawful seizure. Her smile faltered as she skimmed it, time-stamped footage, certified transcripts. She scoffed it off as a bluff, but her trembling hand told another story. Pacing calls to board members followed. One suggested returning the ATV. She erupted, refusing to show weakness. That refusal sealed her fate. Dusk brought her inspection attempt, dragging hesitant board members to my gate. She demanded access. I calmly denied her authority. She pushed forward anyway, pacing my lawn, nitpicking non-existent flaws. Finding nothing, she jabbed at the empty ATV spot, declaring the seizure permanent. As they left, her frustration boiled. Neighbors gathered, sensing the imbalance. My refusal to engage mirrored her instability back at her. By evening, she revved the ATV past my property again, honking for a fight. I closed the curtains, letting her rage echo unanswered. Night fell, whispers of doubt spreading. In her living room, unease whispered, "Why no reaction? Why no cops?" She pushed it aside, but the ripple grew. The theft she celebrated was the first domino in a chain she couldn't halt. On the fourth day, strain rippled outward. Barbara declared an emergency inspection, hauling board members to my gate with fabricated authority. Knocking sharply, her face rigid, she accused me of rebellion. Cameras rolled as she ranted. Demanding entry, she scoffed at my denial and stepped in anyway, testing fate. Pacing my yard, she invented violations, nuisance landscaping, architectural defiance. Her voice trembled with fury. Board members exchanged uneasy looks. Finding zilch, she pointed at the empty stand, vowing no return until compliance. Leaving in a huff, she slammed her car door. Midday, she hosted an emergency meeting, parking the ATV like a trophy under unity banners. Narrating her heroism, murmurs turned to doubt. Someone questioned jurisdiction. She bristled, claiming leadership transcended maps. Applause thinned, frowns multiplied. From home, I compiled more evidence, footage, logs, court updates scheduling proceedings. Evening brought her dramatic drive-by, shouting threats. I ignored her, frustrating her further. Night brought neighborhood unease, whispers of overreach, court talk. Alone, Barbara paced, doubt creeping as loyalty frayed. The fifth day mixed spectacle and tension. Barbara turned the ATV into a safety celebration centerpiece, ribbons fluttering in the cul-de-sac. Speeches on unity drew confused crowds. She posed dramatically, revving circles like royalty. Bystanders filmed, logging misuse. I watched from afar. Her gaze met mine defiantly. By midday, a fundraiser picnic flaunted it as restored control. But legal announcements circulated. ATV declared stolen, public display as proof. Whispers grew, her laughter stuttered. Another speech denounced me as a threat, but fervor waned. Court confirmation arrived, review underway. Evening taunts at my gate went unanswered. As crowds dispersed, her smugness parked away, doubt seated deeply. Sixth day thickened with strain. Barbara's emergency HOA meeting aimed to reaffirm dominance, but faces showed unease. Monologue on attacks faltered. Questions on ATV legality drew venom. Rumors of official scrutiny trickled in. She dismissed them. Afternoon ride-bys shouted compliance. Neighbors recorded. Evening emails sought reassurance. Responses distant. Doubt anchored her. Community awakened to patterns of abuse. Seventh day held reverent stillness. Barbara awoke determined, driving the ATV to a park gathering, vowing to crush challenges. But a deputy approached, serving summons for seizure, abuse, trespass. Shock hit. She laughed it off, but silence rippled. Mounting the ATV, she sped away erratically. Afternoon news spread. Her home echoed with denial. Evening letter reading splintered confidence. Neighborhood shifted from reverence to responsibility. Eighth morning brought heavy quiet. Barbara's driveway circles felt ritualistic. Driving with warnings drew no response. Afternoon HOA office visit met avoidance. Online posts defended her role, silence followed. Neighbors shared overreach stories. Evening address drew discomfort. Night deepened isolation. Consequences hovered. Ninth day brought cold clarity. Barbara accused me of framing online, but words lacked weight. Office demands met hesitation. Groups avoided her. Garage stares at the ATV stirred returned thoughts. Pride blocked. Legal motions fast-tracked. Witnesses emerged. Evening posts vanished into void. Night brought creeping awareness of cross lines. 10th day loomed inevitable. Barbara drafted refusal notices, marching for terms. Enforcement raid gathered doubters. Approaching my gate, law enforcement intervened, citing exceeded authority. She accused bias. Officer instructed retreat. Back home, frustration erupted. Neighborhood nodded support my way. Her control slipped. Resolution felt peaceful. 11th day pivoted in court. Barbara entered sterile halls, clutching her bag. Hearing commenced. Evidence unfolded. Videos, timelines, witnesses on intimidation patterns. Her defense cracked. Recordings replayed her boasts. Judges' findings outlined actions. She exited collapsed. Outside, observers marked closure. 12th day felt like aftermath. Karen stared at empty garage space. ATV returned legally. Suspension notice arrived. Isolation settled. Neighborhood resumed freely. Conversations lightened. She reflected on lost influence. Exhaustion replacing rage. 13th day clarified revelation. Barbara saw fragments of misuse resurfacing. Community pulsed freely. She observed as outsider. Reflection stung. Fear mistaken for respect. Evening walks met neutral gazes. Solitude confessed buried truths. Neighborhood rebuilt collaboratively. 14th day rose earned calm. Neighborhood awakened renewed. Barbara blended into ordinary. ATV back, I drove peacefully. Eyes met under an oak, silent acknowledgement. No words needed, closure complete. Community gathered lightly. She carried humility. Evening brought peace, story folded into restoration. And there you have it, the end of a saga where patience outmaneuvered pettiness. What do you think about stories like this? Have you ever dealt with injustice or overreach in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, especially on themes of bullying and unfairness. Take a stand. Let me know where you land on handling such conflicts. Your perspectives keep the conversation going.